All right, hi everybody. We are back with another Monday lesson, and today we are talking about some sight reading tips. Okay, sight reading tips. So this is going to help you when looking at a new piece, whether you're like in middle school, high school, collegiate band, if you're in like a citywide band, like a local big band or a group that reads music often. That's going to help you in your transcribing. That's going to help you in your composition. All of that good stuff. Help you in your production, getting ideas out quickly. If you have to like chart out a concept for a band or something like that, or if you hear something or see something you're trying to get through a studio session really quickly, this will help you. All right, so before we really get started, you already know I need you to hit that subscribe button. So either click on the watermark or hit the subscribe button and that notification bell for me, please, keeping you up to date on everything that is happening here at Straight Up Productions. As you know, these weekly lessons come out. We have interviews coming, got covers coming, a lot of good stuff, music coming out. So I want you up to date on everything. All right, so I'm gonna give you some time. Go ahead, like that button, hit that subscribe button, like it. All right, let's get to work. Okay, so sight reading tips. Sight reading is something that it's a skill to have. Not too many people, really pride themselves on it because they feel like if you can play, reading is not necessarily essential, but it's something that really does set you apart from the rest of the pack, right? And people confuse sight reading and like reading, right? So reading music is, can I take a piece of music, look at it, know what it says, can I learn it, can I understand what's on the page, right? That's reading music. Sight reading is, here's a chart, I'm going to put it in front of you, play it, go, right? On the spot, okay? Similar things, two different skills, right? So when people usually ask, if you can read, they want to see some sight reading, right? They want to see, oh, you can read? Oh, cool, play this. Right? And so it's a really good skill to have, right? Because usually when people ask that question, that's what they're looking for. And so if you're like me, if piano is your main instrument, this can be overwhelming for us. Why? We get the short end of the stick. As piano players, oftentimes what we're looking at is both staves, two staves at the same time, right? If you're a vocalist, if you're a bass player, if you're a guitar player, play a wind instrument, whatever your thing is, other than drums. Drums we're going to talk about in a second. But any other instrument other than piano and drums, you're only looking at one staff, and oftentimes one note, right? If you're a guitar player, sometimes a bass player, you might see, a couple more notes in there, but you have one note at a time, one staff. You see this? 10 fingers. Us as piano players have to read multiple notes in multiple staves at the same time. So when we get asked to read music, it is a very, very, very daunting task sometimes, and it is something that can be a little overwhelming, right? A skill that's hard to work up, and with any reading, if you're not up to par on it, if you're not constantly doing it, it's a skill that can dwindle down for sure. It can take you a little bit of time to get back up to reading as fast as you used to, or up to reading at a fast level if you've never done it before, right? Because it's just so much information to take in, right? We have clefs, we got keys, we got multiple notes, right? And we have rhythms. So what we're going to do today is teach you some sight reading hacks, right? Which is the rhythm. All right, when you're reading music, sight reading at least, the rhythm is more important than the notes, right? And usually in these situations, when you're sight reading situations, when you're again looking at something for the first time. So if you're in school and the band director hands out a new piece of music, if you're in college and the band director hands out a new piece of music, if you're in a studio session and you can get handed a fresh piece of music, if you are doing a play, if you're at the Fox, if you're at the Muni, these are St. Louis local places. I don't know what your city has, but if you're doing like a play for your city and it's first rehearsal, cool, let's break out the books, look at the first tune. Now you're in sight reading, right? We haven't taken the tune home, we haven't listened to it, we haven't checked it out, right? So yes, you want to get the notes, you want to get as much right notes as possible, but maybe I'll do a part 2 on, looking at things note-wise to help in your sight reading. But today, we're focused on the rhythm because that's what's most important. That's what's going to get us sounding closest to what the record is supposed to sound like when we play the right rhythms, okay? All right, so the big things we're going to be looking at, my big 3 words when I teach: clarity, time, feel. I'm going to say it again. Clarity, time, feel. All right. So when you're playing these notes, when you're playing these rhythms, they need to be clear, in time, and they need to feel good. All right. If they're not clear, if they're not in time, it won't feel good. When they're clear, when they're in time, it's a much better shot of feeling good. All right. And there's a lot of things that go into feel, but clarity and time are the big ones. Okay. So, let's dive in, all right? So, look at this chart here. Now, most of us have seen this breakdown, right? Of course, there are more notes. As things, the more flags you see, the faster the notes get, and we're just getting twice as fast, right? The more we go deeper. But most of us are familiar with these notes, right? And this stuff is easy to count, right? But for those who may not see, may not have read music before, may not have ever seen these, let's just take a look at these things in context, all right? So take a look at this little rhythm excerpt here. All right, this is Rhythm Practice 6 out of my new book, Piano Basics Made Easy, Piano Basics Made Easy, the songbook, all right? Available on Amazon. There's a link to the description below. All right, so this is Rhythm Practice number 6, all right? And so if we take a look at this first line, let's just take a look at the whole chart, honestly. What we have are the 3 basic rhythm types, right? We have quarter notes, we have half notes, and we have a whole note there at the end, right? So quarter notes get 1 beat, half notes get 2, whole notes get 4, right? And those little squiggly things there are the quarter rest, right? Which means that you rest for a beat. We are in 4/4 time, meaning that we have 4 quarter notes, 4 beats in 1 measure. That is how you analyze things. So I kind of pointed out some obvious, but let's just talk about the 3. I ain't gonna say 3, but let's just talk about the first couple of things you need to be looking at when given a fresh piece of music. All right, you need to be looking at the clef. You need to be looking at the key signature. You're looking at the time signature. You need to be looking at dynamics. See, we're already past 3. You need to be looking at dynamics. If you are a pianist or I don't know how wind instruments work all the time, but any fingering that's notated there, you need to be checking that out. If you're a vocalist, if you're a wind player, look for breath marks or good places to take breaths, right? Check that stuff out. You need to be looking at the tempo. Even the tempo marking, right? Is it allegro? Is it moderato? What are we looking at? If there's any kind of groove or feel notation, check that out, right? Is it funk? Is it swing? Is it ballad? Whatever we're looking at, is it Latin, right? That's going to help your approach. That's going to help that feel, right? And then you just need to look at the chart. Just give it a quick once over. Look for stuff that is a little bit difficult. Like, I'm going to have to check that out. That's going to throw me off. Take a skim and look at how the piece is just moving, what your part is doing, right? You, depending on how long you've been playing your instrument, you might already know what to expect, right? As a bass player, depending on what you're looking at, you're probably going to be looking at a lot of quarter notes, a lot of longer notes, right? If you are a saxophonist, you might be looking at a lot of 8th notes, a lot of 16th notes, right? Same for trumpet players, maybe trombones, I'm not sure, flautists, all of that. It varies, right? Some of those fast moving things, because those are a lot of our melodic or harmonic instruments that move in a band, right? So check for things that are going to be like, ooh, that's really high, it's a lot of ledger lines, or ooh, that's really fast, that's like 16th notes, oh, that's really syncopated, let me check that out. Okay, give your piece a once over. Don't just dive in and start playing. Look at it first. Okay, so let's go back to looking at rhythm practice number 6. Okay, so just looking at rhythms, pretty straightforward, right? 4 beats. If we look at that top line there, we kind of count that up, right? We got in that first measure, we got a hit on beat 1, got a rest on beat 2, hits on 3, 4, right? And so with the rest, of course, we don't play. You can kind of go through, since it's just quarter notes and there's 4 of them, you kind of see when to play, when not to, right? So let's just take a dive at this. We're going to be at 100 beats per measure, all right? And let's just take a stab at it, okay? I want you to take a stab at it first. I mean, if you want to pause this video, pause it. I'm going to take a little bit of break and let you see if you can count it out, play it out, see how it goes, all right? Try it. Okay. How do you think you did? Hopefully you did okay, right? If you didn't, there's no judgment. There's no judgment, all right? Take a listen. This is what it should sound like. Cool. All right, so how'd you do? Good, bad? Okay, you want to try it again? That's cool. Take a second if you want to try it again, okay? All right, so that's dealing with a lot of our longer, more basic rhythms, right? Quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, okay? Which those we can usually tackle pretty easily, right? Okay, let's look at this one. This is rhythm practice number 15. It's out of my book. In the book, there are 25 of these before we actually look at any notes. Okay, there are 25 rhythm exercises for this purpose. You want to have a really good handle on reading rhythms before you get into trying to throw notes into the mix, all right? So this is where things start to get a little crazy, right? When you get to the faster stuff, the 8th notes and the 16th notes, and these rhythmic groupings that can often throw us off. All right, so again, we're still in 4/4. Okay, 4 beats per measure. Now, when we're looking at this, we have 8th notes and 16th notes. All right, 8th notes get half a beat, 16th note gets a fourth of a beat, right? Which makes sense, like when we look at, you know, measure 2 there, where it starts off with 4 16th notes, or measure 1 even, when it starts off with 2 8th notes, okay, we can tackle that. But when we look at the full measure and how things get broken up into some of these groupings, or like in measure 3 there, with like the 8th note rest and things start to get syncopated, that's where we start to really get thrown off, okay? All right, so let's talk about how we can deal with this first, all right? I want to show you this trick that my one of my old band directors taught me when I was working with in the drum line. It really helped me with rhythms. One of the big takeaways from my experience in high school band. All right, take a look at this sheet. All right, here we have some common rhythmic groupings, some common little rhythms that you may see grouped together, common syncopations, right? One of the things that you can do is just look at it and try to count it out. But oftentimes that can get overwhelming. You're trying to do math, trying to figure out what goes where, right? Because everybody doesn't notate the same, all right? So one thing he showed me in this first example is a very common rhythmic grouping that you'll see, especially in jazz, Latin music and things like that. So what you see is the first thing you want to try to figure out is what the syncopation is. Is it 8th note or is it 16th note syncopation, right? Because those are only the 2 that can really be syncopated. Of course, we can get deeper into 16th and 32nd notes, but we're not going to do that today, right? And the only people that really deal with those are drummers. Really trumpeters, saxophone players are really not dealing with too much, you know, 32nd, 64th note type things, right? It's really drummers working on fills, or drummers in drumline doing some 4s and all that. Like, we rarely do we see that, okay? So in this first example, it's 8th note syncopation, right? That's where it kind of gets thrown off, Okay, we see a dotted quarter note, then an eighth note tied to a quarter note, then a quarter note. All right. So let's stop here. All right. So one thing we haven't seen yet is the dot. What does the dot do? The dot adds half the value of the note it's attached to. Okay. Say it again. The dot adds half the value of the note that it's attached to. So in this case, it's attached to a quarter note. Right? A quarter note gets one beat. A dot adds half that value, so it's going to add a half to the beat. So a dotted quarter note is worth a beat and a half. Okay? So let's look at this example now. So since we've denoted that it is an eighth note syncopation, what you do is over every beat, right? There's 4 beats. Over every beat, you draw the pair of eighth notes, because that's what it's being syncopated by, subdivided by. It's eighth notes, right? So we have 4 pairs of eighth notes. And then to help you figure out how it's supposed to sound, you cross out what's not being there, what's not being played, right? So as you can see on beat 1, we're definitely attacking that guy. The other half of beat 1 and beat 2, we're not playing anything. But the other half of beat 2, the end of 2, we got another hit. We're not playing anything on beat 3 because it's tied together, right? Then on beat 4, we have a hit. So what does that mean? I'm playing on beats 1, the end of 2, and 4. Right? So that is a good way to like release all of the anxiety of, oh man, how do I play this? If that's a dotted half and then that's an eighth note, that means carry the 1, do the, no. Just write it out and then look at it and then go, oh, okay, yeah. 1 and a 2, 4. Okay, yeah. And that makes it really, really, really quick. All right, that's another thing that's going to get you used to seeing those patterns and seeing what that's supposed to feel like, what that's supposed to sound like in a much quicker way. And just it uses more of your senses. About to say sensory, but uses more of your senses in that, because now, you know, you can see it. I took the time to write it out, and then now I've kind of tapped it out, I've kind of played it, I've heard it. You're kind of using more of your senses instead of trying to like visually see it and mentally count it and all this. You can look at it, then you can kind of tap it out, then you can play it. And so using more of your senses, which helps lock it into your long-term memory a little bit more, right? A little bit better, okay? So that's one cool tool. All right, now let's look at another example. We're going to look at, it's a different time signature. We're going to look at rhythm practice 15 a little bit more in just a second, okay? So if you look here at the 3-4 example, we got a dotted eighth note attached to a 16th note. Then we have a 16th rest, a 16th note, 16th rest, 16th note. Then we have the 16th note grouping that's attached to an eighth note. Right, going into a quarter note. Okay, now you see stuff like this. I'm not going to say this is common. Groupings like this are common. Syncopations like this. A lot of common stuff in this, but I'm not going to say this exact rhythm that's kind of laid out here is common. So what you do in this case, you take the same approach, but you just use 16th notes, right? So we're in 3/4, which means 3 beats per measure. So you're going to write 3 beats worth of 16th notes, right? So we got 3 16th notes here. All right, and then what you do, same thing, you cross out what's not being played. We can see that it's being syncopated using 16th notes. That's the subdivision here, right? So what do we have? Remember, we count out 16th notes, 1, E, and right? So we have a hit on 1, E and we're not playing, we're playing. Right? That's beat 1. Beat 2, we're not playing on 1. We're playing on the E. We're not playing on the and. We're playing on the Then that's beat 2. So just E and And then we have 1 E. I'm sorry, we're on beat 3. We have 3 E. And then 3 E, not playing and. And then, of course, beat 1 of the next measure. Right? So now that you got that, slow it down. Think 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and right? So we got 1 E 3 E 1. 1, E, 3, E, 1, right? So now you get to getting used to doing things like that, and you can approach these rhythms a lot quicker and understand what you're playing. So whenever you see crazy syncopations, take this approach. If it overwhelms you, take that approach. Have your pencil and just write that out real quick when you take it home and get used to doing that, right? That's going to help you get through the tune. That's going to help you get through more rhythms. Cool? So let's look back at rhythm practice 15 now. All right, taking all that we just did, if you want to pause this video again, that's cool. Take a look at this picture. I'm going to give you a quick second. See if you can figure it out how this is supposed to sound. Go for it. All right, all right, all right. How'd you do? How you think you did? Good, bad? You don't know? All right, let's check it out. Let's hear it. This is how rhythm practice 15 is supposed to sound. All right, did you make it? How'd you do? Let me know how you did in the comments. How's it going? How's it going? I want to see a lot of interaction. All right. Now it's time for the grand finale. Let's do it. Let's look at this one. Fun fact about me, I suck at titles. I'm just trash at it. I'll write a tune, I'll arrange, I'll compose. Naming it, not my thing. Just, So that's why this one is called Syncopated Example, because that's what it is. I don't have a cool name for you. Amen. God be praised. The Lord is kind. All right. So what do we see? 16th note galore. Oh, snap. All right. Don't be overwhelmed. Take a second. If you got some manuscript paper nearby, if you have a piece of copy paper and you want to chart it out real quick, go ahead and copy this actually. Pause this and copy it. Go. All right. All right. Now take that same approach. Use the 16th notes. Use the 8th notes. Do whatever you got to do. I strongly recommend you do 16th notes. All right. Draw them over there. Cross out what's not being played. See if you can work out how it's supposed to sound. Go. All right. You think you got it? You think you got it? All right. Let's check it out. Here's how it sounds. All right, all right, all right. I hope you did good. I hope you learned. I hope you were challenged. I hope you got some information that is going to help you. All right. Again, I know we did some things to kind of work out how we play this, but producers, this is for you too. If you're in a session and you have an idea up here and we're not agreeing on, where the count is, where's the one, how you play it in time, learn how to do this. Learn how to hear something and go, okay, yeah, I'm feeling it after the one, write out 16th notes, cross out what's not being played. Learn how to do this. It's going to help you in your notation, right? I'm going to do another video that talks about composition a little bit because there's a way to chart this out to where it's easy to read. There's a way to chart this out that's hard to read. I learned that in college. Shout out to Garrett Schmidt. Learned that in college. But there's a way to notate things that is very, very easy to read. Okay, we want to do things that makes it nice for our musician friends to play, right? Okay, so take this, work on it, work through it, apply it to your music, apply it to your composition, apply it to your production. All right, and I will see y'all next Monday. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, I'll let y'all next time.